Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inspiration Inc. We're here today with my friend and fellow Ojai cohort, Jes MaHarry of Jes MaHarry Jewelry. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and also tell me about Jes MaHarry Jewelry.
Okay, let's see. I'm a mother of three. My husband and I, we own a ranch with a lot of rescued animals. And I've had this business for almost 20 years, and it's a jewelry business. So I design all different things. I use semi-precious to precious stones to antique trade beads to ancient artifacts. And I'm also a painter, and I'm a major animal advocate.
When you started creating these inspirational messages on your jewelry, where were you getting your ideas? What inspired you?
My father was having health issues, and I wanted something to kind of represent what he was. And then I made this really beautiful oak tree on a ring, and I wrote "Grow Strong." I wanted to give that to him as a gift. That kind of spurred an entire collection of inspirational messages. So things like that have moved me to create more talisman pieces. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the collection is for probably 15 to 20 years have evolved into just getting stronger into inspirational messages.
Where did the idea of writing inspirational messages on jewelry, where did it originate?
Well, I think it probably originated back, years and hundreds of years ago. I mean, more of talismanies. I've always been very intrigued by having something that maybe will help the wearer, and I used to just make crazy things, and I wouldn't even really call it jewelry what I made. I would just make these things like with found objects, like rusty bottle caps, or really just whatever I could find I would put together and wire them up or paint on them or write little messages, and I would give them to people if I knew they needed something.
Oh, cool.
It was kind of this really instinctual, force, and I've done it ever since I was a little girl. So I think the inspirational messages, without me really knowing it, kind of stemmed from that. And then these things that I made, these little found object things, people would their friends would ask, and then store owners would ask me for them. And so I started going into these stores and selling them, which was kind of a really rare thing because I used to give everything away.
There's so many artists in the world that want to create a business out of their passion. What advice would you give to an artist who wants to create a business out of their art?
Doing what you love on a daily basis. And I really believe that evolves into
a
business. If you want it to do that,
Going from a girl who's finding found objects and making talismans for her friends to help them through hard times,
yeah.
And your dad, when was there a moment where you knew you were onto something, like this was a real business and you knew you were going to succeed?
I've always made jewelry. Even in college, I went to college for illustration, and the college did not offer jewelry making. I remember I went to the president and I asked the president if he could offer jewelry making, and he said it wasn't not an art form. And I remember that kind of spurred me to do it more. So every night I would do my illustrations and all that stuff, but I'd have these jewelry parties where I would teach my friends how to make these crazy pieces of jewelry. But I think when I realized that I would be successful is when I really became extremely true to myself and thought, I'm doing nothing but this. I had so many odd jobs, and it was really fun, to have these jobs. I sold ice cream out of a convertible in New York for a long time. I sold a lot of flowers on the street corners in New York also, where a lot of times my flowers would get stolen. Yeah, because I'd fall asleep on the job. And seriously, crazy things like that. So I did those. I worked at the zoo. I've had a million jobs. I waitressed for years. I tried to do all these different things, trying to make money to have like a regular job that, I thought, well, you're supposed to work and pay bills. And so I constantly made jewelry. No matter where I was or what I did, I didn't need a spot. I would make it, on a chair or on the floor or wherever I was staying or wherever I was living. So when I think the time that it became really real is when my last waitressing job, which was like probably 20 something years ago, I worked an 18-hour shift, and he wanted to take away my tip money for this whole corrupt thing. And I remember these two doors, and I just hit the doors, and the doors flew open, and I said, that's it. there will be never a day in my life where I go to a job that I don't want to do. So I left with a full head of, full throttle, thinking I'm doing it.
Well, before I knew you in
Yeah.
Ojai, I knew you from a catalog.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
some of your...
As I was getting into jewelry, my 100% goal was to get in the Sundance Catalog. It really resonated with me. I loved how they featured artists. I loved how what they represented, was American arts and different things. And it was something that I had in my mind every day. I dreamt of getting in that catalog. And so I sat down one day and I designed a bunch of jewelry, and I actually saved my money, and I made this one ring, this rose gold ring, and I put all the elements that I loved on it. I put a horse, the ocean, the wind, feathers, leaves, different elements that really inspire me. And I sent it in. I sent pictures in. But what I did was I thought, they're probably having a million submissions a week. So I did a painting, and I did this wild painting in this kind of whimsical, surrealistic kind of style that I have, and I put it on the side of the box because I thought that might get attention. So I did, and I overnighted it because I thought that would get attention also, and it did. And every day I'd go running. I used to be a huge runner, and I would run. I was like, dear God, please get me in that catalog. I was just obsessed with getting in this catalog. So 3 weeks went by after I overnighted this package. I had just moved to California, and I was thinking, I really have to try to make money here and make it. And I had a few stores, that we were selling to that were really great and everything, but I really wanted this catalog. I just knew it was like in my bones I had to have it. So the third week, I went running, a huge run. I had my dogs, and I came home, and I said, you know what, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to focus onto something else. I'm going to put my energy into something else, something where I can get my jewelry in somewhere else. And as soon as I let it go, I came home to this house that we rented in town, and my boyfriend, who's now my husband, said, I've got a phone call from someone I need to tell you about. And I was like, I was sweaty. I was like, water. I'm like, okay, who was it? And he's like, no, do you really want to know? And it's, yeah, tell me, who was it? He's like, you really want to know? And I'm like, tell me. I didn't even think, because I really thought on that day, it was 3 weeks exactly, I thought, I'm letting it go. I completely let it go of my mind. And he said, Sundance call. So I was really excited, and I thought, oh my God, that's pretty amazing. So I called them back, and they said, we love what you do. We want you to fly out here next week and bring everything that you make. So I made that particular ring, and I brought it with me, and I met them, and I was, really excited about it. I remember thinking, I was nervous to what I should wear. I mean, everything was a huge dream for me, was to get in this catalog. They took 7 things, and one of them was this rose gold ring that I had to save my money to make. And it was a huge deal because at that point they had never put anything that expensive in the catalog. They actually had to talk to the president, talk him into it, because it was kind of breaking the barrier of where the price range that they would go in. Anyway, after months later, the catalog dropped and everything went out, and my jewelry sold out in the first week. So they called me and said, come back with more. And so since then, it's been this amazing experience that I think it's been like 12 years, and it's just been this amazing journey.
So tell me about the unexpected.
Okay.
You just had a new baby at 44.
Yes, very unexpected.
How did that happen? Well, we know how that happened.
Yeah.
But how did it change your goals?
One Saturday night. My husband and I had a little, it was, okay, that really was a surprise. And, every people say that, you're like, oh, how was it a surprise? But it really was a surprise. I wasn't really planning that. But it happened. And at first I was really horrified. And it's really sad to say, because who wants to be horrified when they're pregnant? No one. And at my first 2, I was so thrilled. But at that point, at 44, you
were worried maybe.
I was really worried. I was worried about the health of my baby. I was worried because I was signed up for a triathlon. I was worried because my business was cruising at full, turbo. My kids were a little more independent, and I was doing so much. I think what it's done, it's kind of enriched my life so much having this third child and my family. And I have this incredible staff of people that help me with work and also people that help me with my baby and my other 2 kids. So it's worked out really well. And it's inspired me in so many ways for compassion and helping with children's groups and on so many levels. It's an amazing, it's been truly a blessing to have him. I've had 2 girls and this will be my 3rd boy.
Jess, how do you keep your inspiration? What are your passions?
Okay, well, one huge passion that I have, besides children, would be animals. And I'm a really major animal advocate. I work with a couple different nonprofits really closely to help spay and neuter and help rescue animals. With my work, with helping, I'm really aligned with a lot of different nonprofits that I work with on the benefit of spreading the word through my jewelry, all different ways, but the jewelry is one. I would say the animals are a big thing for me, besides helping children. And most of all, I'd have to say the inspiration for me right now comes from the ability that I know I can help people. So that would be what is kind of the fire, for what I do. And so in my hopes to help save animals and to help be the voice for the voiceless, with children, that would be my big inspiration at this point.
For more information about Jes MaHarry Jewelry and to get a hit of this inspiration for yourself, you can go to Jes MaHarry, JesMaHarry, or you can go to the Sundance Catalog and look up the jewelry that makes this woman tick. I want what you're having, basically.
Really? Okay. Good.
Here, give me that. I'll just buy it off you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.